Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Hidden Dimensions podcast. I'm your host, Dan Richard. Also, Karthik Umapathy, who's not here today, but we've got some great guests. So what we do here at Hidden Dimensions, our HDIM podcast, is we talk about those perspectives, values, and techniques that give data science meaning in this really crazy, complex world that we live in. And so today we're talking about what does interdisciplinary data science for social good have to do with developing a career path in data science. And so we have a couple of guests with us today who are former, or we call them alumni of our Data Science for Social Good program. We have Patrick Harrell. He is a recent graduate with Bachelors in Psychology. And so his degree is from the arts and sciences perspective. And we also have Aishwarya Pawar, and she is still about to graduate in School of Computing in a data science bachelor's program. Now, these two students worked with another student who is from the business field. Actually, Sriram Sripada, he was a master's student in Masters of Science in Business Analytics and Information Systems. And so we had students from three different colleges, three different perspectives, kind of all working on a project together. So we'll start. Welcome, Patrick. Welcome, Ash, to the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So why don't we get started, and you all can tell me about how did you get involved in data science? What got you started in those fields?
You're going first.
I'll go first. So I got involved in an interesting way because my background is in psychology,
Right.
like you mentioned. And in my last year, I got to work with Professor Debbie Wong, and I got to be a part of her research lab. And that was really fun to be a part of because I never got that experience up until then. And to see how psychologists collect their data, how they're looking at data, and how they're running their tests in the computer labs. That was really interesting to see. And then I got to meet you as well, and I learned that there was the DSSG program, and I was like, oh, interesting. I'm already learning. How to program on the side. So I really wanted to be a part of it and see if I could contribute to that as well.
Yeah. So you were doing research, seeing how data is happening, and then you're like, oh, I also like programming, and then all of a sudden, here's this data science for social good project that comes up. Yeah.
It all lined up.
It all lined up. Well, great. And Ash, what about you? How did you get involved in data science?
So my story goes a little bit back. So during my senior year of high school, I took a computing class, and I enjoyed it. And then once I started college, I came in to college undecided. I didn't know which field I wanted to go into, but but I like computing since I took that class and I really enjoyed it. Then I took a couple of math classes and math and statistics classes, and I enjoyed those. So when it came time to pick my major, I was like, I do like math and stats, and I do like computing. I'm like, but I don't want to do just do either or. I want something that combine both of them. And I was looking through majors. I was like, data science, and I was like, perfect. I'm going to do that because it just took both of my interests and two things that I like, and they're together. So I was like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into the major, and so far I've really liked it.
Yeah, great. That's great. And so both of you worked on this project over the summer. You all were interns last year during the Florida Data Science for Social Good internship. And you're working on this project called GrowFL, which is an organization that helps second stage companies. These are like small businesses that are then kind of growing and growing into that second stage. And they're a nonprofit organization that kind of supports that development, small business development. And And so it was really great to see, again, students with different backgrounds, different perspectives, kind of all working on the same project. And Sri Ram, much love to you for being connected on that project as well. So tell me a little bit about like the project. What was it about? What were some of the things that you were doing on that project, and some of the things that really stood out to you?
So for the project, we were helping GrowFL by creating our own data-driven dashboards. We made multiple dashboards using Tableau, and the dashboards showed insights that could help them figure out the different areas of Florida, the different parts of Florida where they can advertise, and maybe they're not reaching these like specific sectors or these different counties in Florida, so they can go in there and help out these other companies that that need help, that are small businesses that need help and growth. But yeah, I'll leave it off to Ash.
Yeah,
just want to leave it brief.
Yeah.
So, going off of what Patrick said, like we were working specifically on the Florida's Companies to Watch program. It's the GrowFL's program, which is to help second stage companies. And we were trying to expand their outreach and so that they can go to counties where second stage companies are not applying to them or they are not aware of the program. So those companies get the chance to grow and be prosperous. So that's specifically what we were working on for GrowFL.
Right.
And as I said about the project, and then also talked about the big reveal event. And that was one of the things that was memorable.
Right.
Right. And our client, Ruth, she came out to that event, and we were able to present our project in front of her and other companies in Jacksonville and other mentors and other clients that were part of the program. That was a surreal experience.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So you all were working on a data science project, but the organization GrowFL is actually a nonprofit organization. So what they do is they help companies, small businesses that are growing. They kind of help highlight what that process is like. And so I know that a lot of times we work on projects, either it's a research project or it's a class project, and you don't necessarily get those perspectives from the community partner, right? Someone who's like they're depending on you to implement this kind of data science product, and so it adds another dimension, I think. And can you tell me a little bit more about like how did you all incorporate those perspectives from that community partner into your work?
I just want to go first this time.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Okay.
Patrick, how about you?
Wait, can you repeat it one more time?
Yes. So the question is like, doing a class project is one thing, right?
And
but then doing a project for a specific organization that has this specific question and that has specific needs, and having to adjust to those is a little bit different kind of experience.
Yeah, at least for doing like a real world project, getting like real world experience, it adds more pressure to it 100%, because you have the expectation of your peers, who's a part of your team, and then you have the professors, and then you have the client. So you don't normally do that throughout your 4 years of school or 6 years of school. So having that experience and getting to work with like a business,
right?
While you're outside of college or while you're in college, you can't really simulate that throughout the classroom the whole time. So that's really good. And at least the thing that college does help you prepare for throughout is doing like those group projects with other people throughout the years. Working on a group project with 3 people, which I think we had the only group with 3 people in there.
Yeah.
So working with that group project and that dynamic was really good. That experience from school really helped when being applied to this project. So yeah, I think overall the experience was very helpful. Real world experience is the best thing for
Right.
for a data
Yeah,
scientist.
so you're saying it's like it adds that extra dimension of pressure,
Yeah.
but it's also like accountability, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have to deliver at the end of the day.
Right. Right.
So,
There's the project has a definite like endpoint,
yes.
and those individuals are relying on you to deliver something.
Yes.
So yeah, that adds some pressure.
It's
What
still fun. Still fun pressure.
Still fun, but just a different dimension for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ash, what about you? Like, what was that experience like working with a client who maybe had some expectations, right?
Right.
Kind of going into it, and is that different than what you would experience in a classroom?
For sure. Like I feel in like an academic setting, like I mean before like I didn't really deal with a project that involved a client. I feel like academic pressure, it's more on the student. Like I need to get it done like by this deadline. Like I'll just turn something in. Like but with a client, like the client like wants something specific and that you have to get it done. Like there's like no excuses. Like it's that mindset that you need to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one thing, like if you explain to the client, like for example, like, hey, I'm having trouble getting this done, like they're understanding, but still, you still need to get it done by the end of the day. But like just communicating your concerns, like it's one of the key things that people that are working that need to do. And I feel that sometimes during the project, if there was something that we were struggling with, we would come to you guys, like Dr. Umapati, and also you, Dr. Richard, and we would be like, hey, we need help getting this done. And then you guys would just like mentor us, like give us the right direction.
Right.
And we were able to get those deliverables done and give them to Ruth, our client. And also our client was also very understanding. So we were really grateful and blessed in that department because sometimes some clients you come across, they're not as much understanding. So we were really lucky also. And also Ruth, she was very vocal about what she wanted. And she, one thing I'll say about Ruth, our client, she also started taking interest in the data science.
Right.
And she also was like, oh, what's like, for example, we did text mining and she became so involved.
Right.
Till the point, and that was very like, and we were getting into the business side of things. And also, because none of us are business people,
Right.
like in that department.
Well, Sriram was business analytics.
Analytics,
Yeah.
but like the business side.
Right.
Like, but it was kind of cool to see that interaction, like when the client, and also like we were also seeing that relationship that we were able to build. So like we did feel the pressure, but at the same time, it wasn't like pressure, if that makes sense. Like we enjoyed working.
Right.
So that was, I think we were lucky in that department for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, and I like how the like the community partner perspective then helps inform the work, right? And it was great. And you're right. Ruth was really great about like stepping in and saying, "Explain this to me. You're doing this like complex analysis, but I need to know what you're doing and what this is going to mean for me and for my organization." And I think Ash, you pointed this out where that's a different level of expectation. Like if you put something together and submit it for a course project, you're like, oh well, my grade might suffer, but
minus 5 points.
Yeah, minus 5
10
points. It's no big deal, right? But when it's a
Right.
community partner, it's like, oh, they really care about it, and so it kind of increases that level of commitment, but I think also that level of quality, right? That needs to be done, and we commit more fully to it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also one thing I will say is like the difference between working with a client and versus like a client-based project versus an academic project is a client-based project is more like, for example, an academic project is like, it's very specific. Whereas like when you're working like for a client, it's a little bit more broad. And then we need to like narrow it down. It's not going to be narrowed down for us.
Right.
And that was a different change as well. I remember the initial couple of weeks, I remember all the teams were like, what are we supposed to do? Where are we going with this? And I remember we were just like, what? Like, this is so new to us.
Right.
And that's something that's, I feel we were glad we were able to experience it during our internship instead of us like graduating and going on and just being like thrown into the water
Right.
and dealing with that.
Right.
So that was another dimension that I was able to experience for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And so another, maybe a difference between a typical kind of class project, even if it's a group project, is that you get to work in an interdisciplinary team, right? So, Patrick, you're in psychology, Ash, you're in computing, and then we had another team member who was from business, right, the business side. So, what were some of those ways that you had to adjust, or maybe I'd say perspectives, things that you learned from others who had a different perspective than you? And Patrick, what was your big takeaways in terms of working on that with people that have these different perspectives, different ideas?
Yeah. There's people with a lot of different perspectives. At least working with, I never got the chance to work with anybody from different departments and stuff like that. So it's interesting to be able to work with Shuron from business and then Ash from computer science, and see how they think.
Right.
I guess I'm not trying to be a psychologist here,
Right.
a true psychology major, but it really is interesting being able to like see how different people bring different ideas to the table and how they're thinking about the problems too, because they bring a new dimension of a new dimension of their knowledge and like expertise in their field to the project.
Right.
So,
was there a specific time? I'm gonna like let's call some people out. Like, was there a specific time when you like said, "Oh, wait a minute, I need to adjust. I was thinking about this one way. Maybe I need to think about it in a different way."
Yeah, I think at least with there's a lot, but at least I'll say at least with Sriram, he's really like strong at being able to do the work himself and just go at it alone.
Right.
And so, it kind of have to be like, hey man, I'm here too. I can help you out here with this if you need to, or this area. I know I'm still doing, psychology and stuff, but because I've always been interested in programming and all of that myself, I still wanted to help out and learn as well.
Right.
Especially on that side. So when he was doing all of the data cleaning and processing and text and all of that, it was like, that's really interesting. That's really interesting from a psychology background to see all that stuff going on in the background and how it gets done.
Right.
And I definitely enjoyed helping out and being a part of that too. So that was one of the ones. Just making sure that everyone knows we're all here here to help each other.
Right.
And we're part of the team.
Right. Yeah. All right, Ash, what about you? What was like something that you learned, you kind of shifted your perspective having to work with people from different backgrounds?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to call anybody out, but
No.
I'm just like saying, how did you have to shift in your thinking?
So as Patrick mentioned, we were like a group of 3 people. And we all have different personalities for sure and different strengths and weaknesses. So being able to manage that, like being able, talking to for example, being able to communicate with different people, that was one thing that I had to keep that in mind. Like some people, like you can be like direct towards more, and then versus some other people, like you gotta like tone it down a bit. Like you can't just go full on straight. It can't be like as direct to them, and also like understanding where they're coming from, like having the background. Like for example, like when someone doesn't have like a full data science background, like if I'm talking in I can't talk in like a very technical term. Like I have to be like, okay, I need to speak in a way that this person understands it.
Right.
So that was, and like getting the information in a way that everybody understands. That's yeah, it was tough, but the more that we were like working together, like we started understanding how we are, it became easier for sure.
Right.
And like the more that we like like we talked like out like during work and outside of work, like we were able to understand how each of my teammates were, and based off of that, we were then able to sync together and like complete the project, and we're able to function together.
Right. It's kind of like you have to gel as a team, and it takes a while sometimes to understand each other's perspective and then kind of work together. And I think that's one of the challenges, or maybe the soft skills
Right.
that data scientists have when they pursue a career in this area, is that most data science usually works as a team,
Right.
and so you're really working with other people and having to kind of bring those different perspectives together. It's really something that you kind of have to practice and work on and learn over time.
Yeah, I guess people could go into data science or programming and just think, oh, I can do this. I can work alone.
Right.
I can do all this by myself and get, paid a good amount and all this type of stuff. But no, you have to work with everybody. So you have to know at least what this person over here is doing, and if they need your help,
Right.
it's a good thing to be able to help somebody else in another department. And then, you also get to learn about the team. You get to learn about everyone else who's a part of the whole process. So
Right.
And definitely just like as some everybody brings something to the table, like just having that mindset and like respecting everybody's skill set no matter
Right.
which background they're coming from. I think that's one thing that's important to have when working in a team and with different people from different backgrounds as well. I feel that's something that needs to be kept in mind. And also like the computing field, it's filled with so many different people
Right.
from like everywhere, and just keeping that in mind like goes a long way.
Right. Yeah. So we'll get into some of those like memorable experiences, from the internship. But I'm going to share one of mine, and that is, and it kind of goes along with this perspective taking, right? So I remember we were looking through the data, and we were trying to clean the data, and we kept coming up with these like we didn't quite understand why things were coded the way they were. And I remember saying, like, wait, we need to talk to the client. We need to talk to Ruth. We need to figure out, like, why was this put in this way, and why did this, done this way? And I remember in that conversation, we were like, well, but it's an error. Like, there's an error in the data. And I was like, let's talk to Ruth. Let's figure out like what's going on, because we need that perspective, right? We need to know what happened. And then when we shared what we were finding in the data with her, and she was like, oh yes, that was this particular year, and during that year we were shifting from this to that, and we had a different coding structure. And so it was like, then all of the what we were calling errors in the data started to become clear about why it was that way, right? And so
Right.
it's that thing that you were saying about like honoring her knowledge about what's happening, and not like we could have easily just like gone our own separate way and said, oh, the data's wrong, we need to delete that row, delete that column, right? But hearing from her and getting those different perspectives, I think, was really valuable, and it demonstrates the value of honoring and respecting everyone's skill sets, right? That we all have something to contribute to this project, and it's a different approach than when you're doing a class project.
Oh yeah, that's something that you don't get in class projects, at least for the and kind of like Ash mentioned, because the project is really broad. Like at least the problems that you have to deal with, there can be problems inside of the problem, kind of like you mentioned,
Right.
where it's like, oh, there's this. Oh wait, but there's this too. Oh, I didn't even know about this other thing that's in. So there's like a lot of different problems that you don't get, and a lot of ambiguity inside of data science.
So what were those memorable moments? I will start with Patrick. Like memorable moments that really kind of helped you get connected to this like other dimension.
Oh yeah, there were many memorable moments.
Yeah.
But at least in terms of like the internship overall, definitely the field trips that we went on.
Yeah.
those were really good because I never would have seen what was it, the server room that we went to.
Right.
Never knew how big those were,
Right.
and how cold that they were too, which makes sense. And then just being able to be a part of a program like this, and being a part of the different teams too, in a way, because we were all in our own separate teams, but we all still talked to each other during like the dead time and everything. So, being able to talk to Juan or Amanda, Partha,
and Vinaya. We're just
Yeah,
shouting everybody out at this point.
Being able to talk to everybody was like really a good experience because I never would have met them and I never would have knew about the stuff that they did that they're doing as well at school. So I think that was very memorable, as well as, of course, the big reveal.
Right.
Doing the, like Ash mentioned from before, doing the practice on stage.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And then actually being up on stage and then being able to talk and make sure that you're getting your point across, and that, you're, at least when you're on stage, you want to, at least for me, I wanted to make sure that, I'm like delivering for the client, and then that it's also like entertaining too.
Right.
So, balancing those out, it was a really good experience. I enjoyed it. There's many more that I can talk about, but
Right. Those were some of the big ones. Ash, what about for you?
Oh wow, there are many. Like finding like one specific one. Like the field trips, definitely the first field trip that we took was for the data warehouse. Data warehouse. That was interesting to see. Like that was just an interesting experience, and it's funny because in my information assurance class, we talked about a data warehouse and like the security purpose, and our professor, like he showed a video, but like since I've already been to a data warehouse, I was like, wait, I've been inside one of those before.
Right.
So it was like kind of interesting to see that, and I was like, oh wait, we're learning about that, but I've been inside one before.
Right.
And the big reveal, that was memorable, like because getting up on stage and just like talking to different companies, like especially some of the CEOs there, and from like local companies in Jacksonville and some like well-reputed companies here, that was like, I was like, wow, okay, like I'm up here, I'm doing this. And finding that balance, as Patrick said, of like being like informative and also being entertaining at the same time. It was like a bit it was like I was a bit nervous. I feel like all of us were like nervous in that for that event. But then once like we rehearsed and then once we went on stage, we're just like, okay, we're here, let's just do it. That was, I feel, the big reveal event. I love that one. And also during our projects, like also the mentor meetings, now those were some great experiences. Like also talking to the mentors, like gaining their insight, their knowledge, and seeing like how we can, like, because we were learning ourselves too, especially the PowerPoints.
Yeah.
Remember those? Yeah. And project-wise, I would say definitely the Tableau dashboard. That was memorable because we didn't work with Tableau before, and also getting to create that interactive dashboard, like seeing like the whole process behind that. That was definitely memorable for sure.
Yeah, you're having to make like 1,000 decisions, right? And each one of them has, yeah.
I'd never done so many animations.
Right.
At least for learning how like the different like filters work for Tableau.
Right.
That was really interesting because I've seen some company dashboards, but I never knew like what actually went behind it or how they were made. I heard of Power BI too.
Right.
Yeah.
But actually learning about it and like being in there and like, oh, okay, I have to learn this. Well, first I had to learn a little bit by myself, and then you go to like your teammates and see what they know too,
Right.
and then be like, oh, okay, so is this how you do the filter? And then you check with the teammate, and then they're like, nah, I think it's like this. And then you go to the professor, and then you're like, is this right? And then they're like, You're close, but no. It's a lot to learn on the project.
I can say like Tableau was definitely towards the end. It was like the thing it was like the main thing.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you apply one filter and then it's like, oh, it looks perfect. Oh, let me try this thing. Oh, wait. Then it just like completely goes haywire.
Right.
And then you try to like backtrack and like,
Right.
it's like you're going forward, then you're going back.
Right. Right.
Espe-
Why does it operate this way?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, come on now.
Yeah. If things could just be easy, right? Like if it would
Right.
work out every time. Which actually kind of brings me to my next point, which is like, okay,
pretty good.
if you have if you have this like data science dream, right? Like things are just working well for you. I mean, what do you think? I mean, what is one aspect or one perspective that like if you were to put that into practice could really move things along well for you in the field of data science?
That's a good question. That's a good
Yeah.
question.
Because at least for data science, I'm still getting my head around the field.
Yeah.
I'm still new to it, but I think in the field itself, everybody being more cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really key. So as long as people keep like an open mind
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's really open about the different problems that can arise and being patient with the problems and with the people who are still learning and
Mm-hmm.
getting their foot in on the project, and I think that'd be a really good dream
Right.
for everybody to be
Right.
really really cooperative and really nice with the whole process.
Mm-hmm. That's really important. I mean, yeah, I think, being open to hear other perspectives and not just like quickly shutting down and having such a laser focus all the time.
Yeah.
I know projects need to be done, but there's so many opportunities for learning if you're open to hearing like what's really going on and what can we learn from this. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ash, anything to add or?
Well, before we started recording, I did say if the data came in more
Uh-huh,
cleaner.
right.
But unfortunately, that answer was taken.
Somebody got there first.
Yeah.
Yes. I would say, like, I think going back to how, like, our data set was with some of, like, the codes, like, understanding the data, like,
Right.
how we were going to remove, like, some of the rows, because, like, we thought, like, that was just, like, not necessary. Having, like, clients just being transparent with their data, like, giving more information about it
Right.
so that we know, like, what's, like, if things are, like, really errors or they are part of the data.
Right.
I feel like data transparency, I think that's, like, the best way to put it.
Oh, that's great.
That's pretty good.
And
Yeah.
also, as Patrick said, like, like, just being cooperative, like, understanding, like, yes, there's a project, it needs to be done, but at the same time, like, yeah, it needs to get done, but if you're so focused on getting it done, you may miss things in a broader perspective, and just being open about it. Open perspective, open mind. Because
Yeah.
that's,
Keep an open mind. Yeah.
Then like you said, like having that, if you have like that tunnel vision, you can miss a lot.
Right.
Miss a
Yeah.
lot of opportunities to
Miss
see
a lot,
the problems from a different perspective or hear out other people. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you have to slow down sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So what's next for you all? What is next on the horizon as you've done the internship, you're kind of finishing your degree programs. What's that next step for you?
so, I'll
Ash,
just-
you want to
so I'm graduating this semester.
Yay.
May 3rd.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks, y'all. And after that, I'm going to grad school.
Okay.
I'm in the BS to MS program here at UNF, so
Yeah,
I'll be
fantastic.
I'll be here
Yeah.
after I graduate this spring. And in the meantime, I am looking for like a job or an internship as I go through grad school
Great.
in data science. So I'm looking for that as well.
Fantastic.
And just in life in general, just like getting back to things that I used to do, like just getting back into tennis. That's one of my goals for 2024 was getting back into it, and that's already happened. So I'm really happy about
Yeah,
that.
that's great.
And just like trying new stuff in general. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, tennis
Has
is
no-
interesting.
Tennis really is.
So Patrick, what's on the horizon for you?
So at least for me, I've already talked to you about some of this
Right.
before, but yeah, I'm doing the graduate program as well,
Yeah.
and so thanks. And so I think that's something that I'm really interested in for getting more in-depth experience for how psychology works more on the research side.
Right.
Getting a thesis and
Yeah.
all of that
Yeah.
stuff is really, really fun. And then I've also been doing like my own project on the side for data science,
Yeah.
like a sentiment analysis.
Mm-hmm.
That's been, I've learned so much.
Great.
At least if I didn't do like the internship first, and then get that experience with Tableau and making all those dashboards, helping out with that, I don't think I would have been able to do this project as easily or as quickly as I have so far. Taking some time, but it could have taken a whole lot longer.
Right.
So
right.
I think that project has been really fun. That's what I look forward to continuing after all this is done.
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
more projects.
Well, it's obvious that you all had a really fun time with the internship. That even though it's a lot of work, it's also a lot of fun, and you all have shared some of that with us today. So I appreciate you all for sharing all of that. And so for you emerging data scientists out there, we hope you get some perspectives from this and some ideas about what you can look for in your data science internships. And so join us next time. Subscribe, follow us, comment, and we'd love to connect with you all for our broader data science for social good community. All right, take care, everyone. See you next time.